Hello, welcome to my session on online apps and activities that have saved me. My name is Melissa Dublechan and welcome to the 2021 CCFLT Spring Conference. I know that it is not the same as being in person, but I'm hoping we can still get together today and learn a little bit. So I, again, am Melissa Dublechan. I teach Spanish at Boulder Valley School District. Most of the things I talk about today can be used in any language. I'm just giving you the tools and things that have been helpful for me, so they're not language specific. This year we have been teaching mainly online remotely. We did have a few weeks of hybrid in the middle of the semester. So all of these things I have tried either online or when I had a hybrid, some people online and some people in person. And so the whole point of this session is that most of us, and me included, have never had to teach this way. So I've taught for 24 years and never before have I had to figure out ways to teach online. I've had my tips and tricks and things that work well in person. However, I had to change a lot of things. So I thought if there are a couple things that can help other people, I would love to share. And I have taken what we're doing today in this session, and I've kind of divided it into 3 parts, and they're all color coordinated. So if there's something that works for you, you can skip ahead to the section that you're more interested in. So the yellow activities are things that I found to work while teaching remotely, synchronously. So while I had the students with me and we were all online together, or I could give them an assignment to work on their own. The green activities are things that I found that worked well while synchronous, while I had students in front of me online virtually, so that we were working at the same time, but we were online, or a hybrid. And then the last one was activities that I thought worked really well when the students were during their asynchronous time working on their own, not with me in class. So that is how I've divided it up, and we will get started on the first section. All right, we're going to get started on part 1. And for this part, I'm talking about things that have worked well for me, both asynchronously or synchronously. So things that I can use while teaching and in small groups, or also work well as independent work for students. So the first part, I'm going to start talking about Flippity. And this has become my favorite website, and it is pretty much anything that is based off of a spreadsheet online and becomes interactive for students. So I love this. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is match game or memory. But I will show you first, when you go to Flippity, which on all of my slides is linked on there, you go to their website, they have all of these different games and interactive things. So I'm going to be talking about quite a few. I used to only use it for the name picker, which is how I knew about it. But as we were working online, I found this. So I used to put all my students' names in here, and when I had to call on somebody, you just spin the wheel, calls on them. But what I loved about it is if I needed teams, if I needed groups, if I wanted to put them in different sortings, and there was even more, I could do all that. So that one has been great. But then I found out that it had all these other applications. So that's what I'm going to talk about, quite a few of those today. So when you go to the Flippity website, you find the one you want, open one of the templates, and then it's just going to ask you to make a copy and work from there. So that's how you get to all of these. So the first one I want to talk about is good old-fashioned memory game. So when you click on them,
Poner una inyección. Roto.
Nope, those are not a pair. And so it mixes them up every time, and I can have them mixed a word trying to match it with a photo. You could also do circumlocution instead of a photo, or have the English word. So that is what we are going to be working with. And how it works is you download the spreadsheet, make a copy of it, and it is as simple as putting, let's see if it'll load. This is the link. So when you are in the spreadsheet, you put in the word that you want on one card here, and in the right-hand column, you put in a picture. And the only tricky thing about finding a picture is you need the address to end in .jpeg or .png. And so when I'm doing that, I just go to Google. So when I'm in Google, I type in enfermero, I go to the images and I search. So if I find one that I like and I want to use this cartoon, then I just right click on here and say copy image address. And then I go back in here and I paste it, and I make sure up top that it shows up as .jpeg, and then I know that I can use that one. So I'm not going to change that. But so that's all you have to do is you find something online that has that JPEG image. And then when you're done, it turns into the game like that. So in the settings, notice that you also have options. So once I've figured all of those out, I choose my language. I want the audio to be in Spanish. The pictures don't have audio. I will go to my options and I can change the word for done. I can make it a memory game or a matching game. And then the key thing about all Flippity is that you have to go up under File, hit Publish to Web. Once you publish it to the web, I've already done that, so it doesn't show up the same. Then I go over here and get the link. It's not going to load while I'm recording, but then a link will load up here, and that's what you give students for the page. So this is what the matching game looks like. They can see everything. So like hacer una pregunta, they can see that one.
Hacer una pregunta.
And those two match. And so then when I click on something else, those disappear. So you can do that just as kind of practice, or you can do it as a memory game where they're flipped over and they have to guess which one it is. So I've been loving that just as a quick way to practice vocabulary, and I've done it in groups or I've done it as an assignment. The next one is also using Flippity. So you go through the same steps and you get these manipulatives. And when you are doing that, you get the same spreadsheet. So you download the spreadsheet. And of course, it takes a second to load right now. So when I am on there, you're going to go under. I'm just using the original because I want to show you the different backgrounds. So you type in whatever you want here. If there's anything you want in a color, you type the color in the second column. And I'll show you where that will make a difference. They have these 13 different backgrounds, but the part that blew my mind is you can put anything just like we did in the last one that ends with a .jpeg as your background. So you could change it. And then I typically remove the background I don't want. So once you fill that in, it looks like this. And the things that are in colors, they were doing this with the people from the office. So you would put adjectives next to whichever ones you wanted. But I wanted to show you the different columns. So you could pick the background, like if I want 2 columns, if I want a grid of 6, they have Venn diagrams, so you can pick all these different backgrounds to use, and then I delete the ones that I don't want so that students are automatically working off the one I want them. So I've done this with like a Spanish 2 class. We were practicing our new vocabulary and I was just having them sort it. So I put all of mine in there and I only had colors for 2 of them. Choose your background. I took out the ones that I didn't want, go get the link. And then what ended up coming here was I wanted them to separate their vocab into things that they did as a child and things that they didn't. So like, yes, I had a birthday party. Yes, I played on swings. And so they separated that. They sent me a screenshot. And that was like one of their assignments at night. I've also done it with putting things in order. We watched the movie Coco, and when we put everything in order, and then I knew that, and this one I did in groups in class so that they worked together to find out the order everything happened. And if you notice, those letters at the beginning all go in order so I can check it easily. So this one is where I got excited and realized that I could put in my own backgrounds. So they have on their frequently asked questions page on Flippity, they talk about how to put in an image. And if you don't, because they need to be online, they recommended post image. You just upload whatever picture you've created, put it in here, and then they give you an URL that you can use. So I did that, put the lyrics to a song in to a JPEG format, like I made it into a picture, uploaded it online, and it became my background. And so then what we did is we talked about different parts of the song where we were seeing examples of education, etc. And so I color-coded them the way that I wanted. Then as a group, they looked through the lyrics and put them there. I gave them a larger copy of the lyrics so that they could see it. But it was a good way just for them to move it around and manipulate everything as a group. So I really love the fact that you can put any background there. And if you see here, if you try, that's the only background I gave them, so they can't change it. All right, next. You guessed it, more Flippity. So this one, I was talking about Flippity Mad Libs. So I found out that if you download the Mad Libs, you could do, I put them into groups and I had 7 groups do this, but you could have one story, you could have as many stories as you want. So you type in the spreadsheet, the story that you want to tell, and then in brackets, you take out the words that you don't want, that you want them to fill in like a Mad Lib, and then they put that in there. So I put emoción, feminine, a type of job, so that when they get it, once I go through the steps, don't forget you have to publish to the web, go down and you'll get your link. So then how it shows up on Flippity is like this. I had them in groups. I said, okay, group, whatever group number you are on Google Meets, go through and fill it in. So once they clicked on that, they come over here and it tells them what to fill in. So then as an example, I filled it in and they get this when they're done. So they get the story with the dark words are what they filled in. And then we just did it as a class. You could do it as homework and have them just do this and read it. I had them read it out to the class and laugh over all of our silly Mad Lib mistakes. So it was just kind of fun to go through as a class. The next one, once again, I might have a problem with Flippity, but on Flippity they have a hangman game. These are very easy and quick to create. And all you have to do, and they have different options, is to go here and decide if you want a snowman that melts, bomb squad, flower picker. I've used apple picker and snowman so far, but they also have classic hangman. You just type in the words you want. If you want to give them a clue, if they're struggling, you could do circumlocution, like do a definition of the word. You could put the English word. That would make it way too easy. And then you'll see that once I have published to the web, go over and get the link, and then it shows up. I guess I didn't prep that one. So then I follow this link, shows up as my snowman. Oh, it was there. And so then they guess letters. We've done this live in class, or I've had them do it as homework just to practice. And so, oh, look. And I don't know what the word, but the snowman starts to melt. Oh, there we go. I'm figuring it out. And so then it gives them the answer, but you could have the clue here if I had typed something in. And it's easy to flip it if you want it to be a snowman one day and something else the next. But that one takes about the least amount of time because you just type in a few words. All right, one of my other new favorite activities that can be done synchronously or asynchronously is pixel art. And I know that these have been all over like the social media sites. Everybody's been doing them, but I love them because they are a great way to do what people would typically do as maybe a worksheet, but I have them do them in small groups online. And I love the fact that when they fill in the answer, they see immediately if they're correct. So it changes colors and tells them if they're correct. I've had them do some of the longer ones in groups, and I go into the small groups and hear them talking like, no, it would be this. You can use them for circumlocution. You can use them for conjugations. You can do them for answers to, like, comprehension answers to something. It's easiest if you have one word answers, but I've also done them as assignments where they have to do them at home, and it's easy to grade because they tell you by showing the picture. So what you're going to show the kids is, and a lot of this is great because you can find them online and edit them, or they even have some that are done for you. You can just use them. So you're going to have a spot here on a spreadsheet that shows what the question is. So then this is what students get, and when they fill it in, this is our vocabulary. When they fill it in, they see that it changes colors and part of the picture comes in. So when they complete it, it ends up looking like this, where they have a tiny little elephant. So, and there's a ton of them that you can do. This one, I have put a link on the slides. There was a teacher, a French teacher, who put this out there, and I also put a link to hers on here. She has a great video explaining exactly how to change them. So if you go to her video, it also has the spreadsheet you can download, or I put a copy of it here. So there are quite a few different ones. You can look at each tab and decide which one you want. And then what I do when I'm ready to do one, because I like to have the answer somewhere else, is I say copy to a new spreadsheet, and then it brings me to a new spreadsheet. And so then once you have the new spreadsheet, I actually rename this so they don't know it's going to be a unicorn, and I say I'm doing like verbs or vocabulary or whatever I'm doing. So do that. And so then again, her video is going to explain this much more in depth, but all you do then is the conditional formatting, and you change the formatting here. She's saying that when this box says 1, you change these boxes over here to be green. So all you have to do to change it is write in the questions you want in the first column. I would say, since I teach Spanish, I would go to dance. I'm not going to ever make it that simple, but then I go over here and I say, I want the custom formula to say when this box says bailar, and you have to put it in quotes if it's a word. If it's a number, it doesn't have to be in quotes. And so then when I'm changing this, I look through and go, okay, look, it took out the green here. So now if I type in bailar, it works good. That one works. Now I go on to my next one. And then I change all of the answers so that they fit, and I share the blank one with students. So it's really simple to change them. One other thing to add on the pixel art is if you want, you can even create your own art. So I took some time just kind of piddling around with it, where I was able to I found this image online of Machu Picchu, and I searched for pixel art Machu Picchu. And so then I created my own here, and it hasn't been formatted yet, but then I did take time and put the formatting in for the Machu Picchu one, but not for the rest. So I've created a few of my own. So I took the Picasso painting here and made that into one. I've done a few quick ones with flags. So you could make your own, and then you just have to add that formatting. So it takes a little more time for that. But if you are so inclined, it really didn't take that long to create a few of these, and it's kind of fun to have a few that kind of align culturally. So that was kind of fun as well. And I put a link to that. The ones that I've created, if you are interested in those, is at the bottom here, and it'll force you to make a copy. So the next one, I did this a lot when we were live and in class, so I was excited to find a way to do it when we were also online. So I would find that I have these stories that I used to tell, where I would have 5 different boxes that I would tell a story, and students draw what they hear, so that it's so easy to tell if they understand what I'm talking about, and then they recreate the end of the story. So I found that when I was teaching virtually, I could do that, and they could be sitting at home drawing. And for the kids who were absent, I recorded myself. So you could also have it be assigned to them at home so that they listen to it. And last year we were doing a Frida Kahlo unit in one of my upper levels. So I even did a drawing thing where we described one of her famous paintings. And you can see here that the students had to interpret and draw what they heard. So there are many types of things you can do with this. And a few of my examples here. This was the Frida one. We just described the painting.
Vamos a crear una.
And so I made an image to go along with it that talked about keywords I thought that they might not know. Here's the one that I did with Spanish 2 kids this year, so they knew that they just had to draw in those boxes, and I recorded myself. It took 2 minutes to record myself. They drew out what they heard. So that's a good way of getting in that listening comprehension when they're not in person. All right, for part 2, we're going to talk about a few different things I have found work well when I am teaching synchronously. And for me, most of the time that was remotely. So we were online, but we did have some hybrid days where I was teaching kids in person and there were kids online. But these work well when you're all on class at the same time. So the first thing that I hadn't thought about before this was just making Google Slides in breakout rooms, so that when I send kids to work, they have something specific to work on. They have a focus point, and I set the settings so that anybody with the link can edit, which meant that any student with the link could participate. So I sent it out to the whole class, had everybody copy the link, and then they all worked within it. And then I set it to grid view so I can watch live as people are doing it, so I didn't have to hop into every room, and then I would hop in where I would see somebody needed. And then what was great is that when we came back into the whole class, I had one document to share of what everyone had done. So a few of the things that I've used that for is I did it for some translation work, so that I had them working together to try and do some. And you can see here that every one is the same, and I had them just work on this with a group. And when you look at grid view, I was able to see people who was involved in the document and what they were doing at that time. Then I also tried it for some other things where they had different assignments. So they had to, this one they had to find different paradores in Spain, go to a website, the website was here, find information, and then I'm showing you an example of what it looked like when they were done. So while they were in here, each one then reported back out to the class, but I think it really helped in class to have them have something that they were focused on. And you can see on here, I put just a screenshot of what I see at the time. So I could see by the little bubbles who was in class and what they were doing and hop in if they needed help. Like some I saw weren't putting a picture, so I hopped in to make sure that they knew what they were doing. I almost forgot to mention that if you are doing these for classes where they're going to be filling it in, it is important to make a copy for each period that you teach this, because it will be filled in and then they will not have the chance to do it themselves. And all I do is I make one copy exactly like I want it, and then you just go to File, make a copy of entire presentation, and then rename it with whatever the period is so that it'll be a blank copy for each group as they come in. And again, it is important to make sure that anyone with the link can edit so that all students can add to the document. So that works really well just with, for me, small groups. I am not going to talk much about these three because I think everybody knows them, but I just want to say I have to mention them because Gimkit, Quizlet, and Kahoot all are fun to play, interactive, even if we are remote. And I love the fact that Gimkit has the availability to take any list that I already had in Quizlet. They do have a limit now, I think, of 5 people can play if you don't have the paid account. So it might be worth having that paid account. Kids love Gimkit. Otherwise, I typically use Kahoot more for grammar or circumlocution, and the other 2 for vocabulary. And the last thing I'm going to talk about that works really well synchronously, once again, you know how I feel about Flippity, but I found that you can play bingo. So what I love is that every single student has a different card, and when I send one link to everybody, it creates a unique card for each student, and I get this wheel. So I will show you once you download the template, you just put in, and I at first wasn't going to take time to fill in the alternate terms, but you'll see why it kind of is helpful in a minute. So you put the vocab here, and you could just leave it as that, and it would be fast and easy and don't take time for the alternate terms. Or you could put the English in the second column, it would be fast. So your options are you could change the text for the free space, publish it, make sure that you get your link. So when you get that, it'll bring you to this page. So this is a little different than the other things there, where it shows me both. And you could actually print cards. So if you end up having a hybrid, you could have the kids in front of you have a printed out board, and the people online would have a digital board, which is why I love this, because everybody can, it makes it work for everyone. You can choose the terms or alternate, which is why maybe it's worth taking the time to put both of them in there. So I could have them have just the definitions. I could have them just have, I'm assuming you could also do this with pictures and put a JPEG into that other side. So then once I decide this, if I want them to have a free space, I put that, and then you follow the link, and then what you send them is the link to this. And if I were to send it to another student, everything's in a different order. So it switches up the card every time. And then what they're playing, so what I did is I then used from here, if you go to more on that original landing page, send alternate terms to the wheel or send the terms to the wheel. So as the students all have this, but what I used was this, and I projected this for students. So I would shuffle it and spin it, and then it gives me the definition that they have to use. So then I read that, and they have to figure out what verb or what word it was, moto aquatica, and then on their page, they just click in what they have. So that was kind of a fun way to play bingo live, where they had the different options. So I really thought that that was a fun way to go live. Okay, welcome to part 3. In this part, I'm going to talk about a few of the tools that I have used mainly for asynchronous learning. So things that work well while students are working on their own. And I'm sure that you could modify some of them to also be done live class time, but I have found that these work best when alone. So the first one that I am going to talk about is going to be Flippity again. You know how I love Flippity. So on this one, we're going to talk about both the crossword and the word search. So they're easy to create in Flippity, but you pretty much need to download them as a PDF or print them out for students. But I will just show you briefly how to use this. So once again, just like in Flippity, you're going to download the spreadsheet. And then when you come under demo, you write in the words that you want, the clues that they need to make it. You have the options of telling it which direction, if you want them all horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and fill characters. So if you've seen here that I added the Nye and an A with an accent because I needed that for a word, so I have extra fill letters. And then go here, you get the link. I've already preloaded the link. So once, don't forget, you need to always publish it to the web first. And once you do that, you come over here and you have the word puzzle. And the thing I like is that you can make yourself a key. So you can click this button and it'll show you where the words are. If you want, you can shuffle it and do a new one. And then all I do is print, and I either print a PDF and have it saved to my desktop, or I actually print it out for students and I have them use that on their own. The same idea goes for the crossword. So the crossword, you come in here and you can put in your vocabulary words here. For lower levels, you may want to do the English in the clue column. Otherwise, I always just put a definition for the upper level so that they need to think about what they are doing. Make sure that you publish. Once you've done that, you follow the link. And for the crossword puzzle, again, shows up here. You can look at the key, see where everything is filled in. If you are trying to put it onto a piece of paper and have it print better, you can keep reloading it until it's like in a format that works better. Print it or make it into a PDF. So that is how I use those from Flippity. Pretty simple. The next one that I wanted to talk about is lyrics training. I have used this a lot, just trying to get in listening comprehension with other languages. You can use any video from YouTube and create your own, but most of them, I use ones that have already been loaded in there, and I would say 95% of the songs that I want have been loaded in there. I sometimes go through and make it a little more simple, like pick out words that I think students will know. For our district, I have had to go through and approve a few videos to be able to be seen if they're using their school login, but it is great for listening comprehension, and there are a few modes that you can try. So if you go into your account, you can see that I have created my own exercises. So I find words, I have different ones for level 2 and level 5, depending on what words I think they're going to be able to hear. And if you go to one of the songs, then when you share the link with them, they get your activity. They have two options. They can do write mode. So when the song plays, they have to type in the word that they hear. Or they have choice mode, which I've found for my lower levels keeps them from getting frustrated. And then all it does is as you play the song, it's going to blank out certain lyrics and use this as a listening comprehension. So once you hear the song going, I go, oh, I heard pasta, celular. And so you go through that, and I have them do this on their own at home, and it's a listening comprehension completion participation. But when I asked for feedback, students said that they loved it because they heard different people speaking, and some of them have created playlists now, and they love getting the music in there. And it's something we can do when we're working remotely. So the last one that I have in this section is Edpuzzle. And I almost didn't mention it because I feel like a lot of people have heard of Edpuzzle and they use it, but it has saved me this year and the last few years. So I'm able to send students home and have them listen at their own pace. You can use videos that you've created. You can use from online. There's a ton already created by other teachers. You can add your questions that are multiple choice, short answer. You can add notes, voiceovers. They're super easy to grade. And I have students sign up at the beginning of the term, and then they're in the class. So anytime I say, hey, you have to go do Edpuzzle, they just log in and it shows up when it is assigned to them. And so I just was going to show, like, these are my Spanish 2 videos. You have a limit if you're doing the free account, a limit of 20 videos stored for you, but you can always go find them. So search from other people. You can bring in anything from Edpuzzle, YouTube, Khan Academy. So you can always take them. If you just search, there are always videos out there by other people, and you wouldn't need to have the paid account. And then I love it because they're easy to grade. It keeps it in a grade book with students, and I probably shouldn't show their names. So that one I just use so often, and I love it for listening comprehension. So I think that one is a perfect way to get them, especially when we're teaching remotely, able to listen to short videos. I've even done things that used to be like a audio recording, listening comprehension, so it doesn't even have a video. I just put the audio in there and have it stop and ask them questions. So it makes it really easy to grade and a good way for them to be able to listen. Here we are. We've reached the end of the presentation for today. Hopefully there are at least 1 or 2 things in this presentation that you are able to implement in the next few days or weeks. Underneath the video, there is a link to the slides, and the slides have links to everything that I could possibly think that you would have wanted links to. So you are able to access the slides there. There is also a contact form. You can find that on the CCFLT website as well, to ask questions and interact with other people watching the video, and I will be checking that through the entire month of February. If you are watching this after February and you still have questions, feel free to email me. My email address is in the contact form as well. So hopefully you've learned something. Have a great day.